Hi, Jason Seib. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I found your information because I believe I am your target audience. And so whatever you're doing with your Facebook ads, it worked. I
Right
actually
on.
bought your course a couple of months ago because
Mm.
I was really intrigued by your messaging, which is why I wanted to have you on to talk to my audience
Cool.
because I love mindset. And here you are.
Yeah. Been doing
Yeah.
this for a while. The mindset
Yeah.
thing.
The mindset thing. I feel like it was really nice. If I can give you some props, it was really nice to get a Facebook feed, a Facebook ad, an
Mhm.
Instagram ad that wasn't about, you know, these two secrets about diet, you know, or like to do 7-minute abs and then you'll lose all the. I
Mhm.
loved that you were targeting mindset because to me, that's the game changer.
Yeah, it's really everything. I um I years ago, after many years in this industry, the diet, weight loss, health industry, and tons of successes, I found the holy grail. I created my own diet,
Mm.
and it worked like a miracle. Like, I mean, I was swimming in before and after pictures, and everybody quit. And then a good percentage of them would come back to me and literally ask me why they quit. And they would say
Mhm.
things like, it wasn't hard. It made me feel great. So it wasn't like I was starving myself. It wasn't like deleterious to my health. Why did I quit? I have no idea why I quit. And I was already really moving down that whole psychology mindset pathway. And that was the moment. I mean, I pulled the diet off the market. I won't ever sell a weight loss diet plan ever again. And I completely shifted gears, and the entirety of my career became about why do people quit. And I've learned a ton about that. And they're one of the first really disturbing things that I came across is that I have, and I probably always will have, and you probably always will have, a 95% failure rate. And the reason why is because it doesn't have anything to do with us. It's that number is roughly the same in everything that requires an intrinsic motivation. So 95% of people who start learning a language never reach fluency. 95% of people who pick up a new musical instrument never get to a point where they can say, for example, I can play the piano. 95% of people who read any self-help book are not applying anything in that self-help book as little as 1 month later. Weight Watchers has always had a 95% failure rate for is at the 1 year mark they have a 95% failure rate. At the 5 year mark, 95% of those people are heavier.
Mm.
And so people will say that they fail, but what they're really doing is quitting. It's not possible to quit self-care or to fail self-care. I mean, you can only quit. And so I started digging into what that meant in my business. And I found that there's a very clear difference between that 95% and the 5%. The 95% I now call the fixers. They are people who are trying to fix themselves. Their
Mm.
worldview says that they are broken in some way. And they're not even trying to pursue anything amazing. They're just trying to get to good enough. So those are people that look in the mirror and they see themselves, I am fat. Whereas the 5% person says, that is body fat. That's
Mm.
something that I own. It's not something that I am. It's
Mhm.
something that I have. It doesn't affect my identity anyway. It doesn't have any ability to make me good or bad. So the process that almost everybody is going through, that 95%, is that they don't think they're good enough and they're going to try to do these things that they don't want to do,
Right.
but they just hate the idea of doing these things a little less today in this moment than they hate their body. And
Right.
that's going to switch a lot. It's going to switch up a lot. Like later on tonight, it's going to switch up and they're going to go to right now. I hate the idea of giving up cookies more than I hate my body. And so they'll flip over.
Right.
And the problem is that none of this stuff is stuff that you could turn on a friend. You like imagine if you will, that you have a little like 7-year-old daughter. Maybe you do, but
Yeah.
imagine you have a little girl and she wakes up tomorrow morning and you see her the first time and you go, Geez, look at you. Like what, how did you let yourself get this way? You
Right.
look awful. And
Jesus.
it's, when we're around other kids, they're all judging you, and they should be. I mean, look at what you've become. But we're going to get you a healthy breakfast and a healthy lunch and a healthy dinner. And we'll do that for a few weeks in a row. And then I'll run you over to the scale, get you on the scale, and we'll see if I love you yet. That's disgusting. Hopefully, I mean, there probably is somebody out there like parenting like that, but hopefully I never run into any of them,
Oh God,
because
no.
we will go to blows.
That's
That
right.
is horrifying and disgusting. And yet that is the exact plan that at least 95% of the people that come to me are on.
Right.
They think they're going to abuse themselves pretty. And it's all self-deprecation that leads to it. It's I'm not good enough. And what it means is that everything that they've literally never done self-care. Never.
Right.
They've done a lot of things that look like self-care, but it's never been self-care. For example, they don't eat the cake and they choose healthy food. Why? Because they deserve to feel great and they deserve to take care of themselves. This meal that they're about to eat, this healthy meal, is a love note to themselves. No, that's not it at all. They can't eat the cake, because if they
Right.
do, they'll keep being this disgusting thing that they are, that they think they are.
Jason, this is wonderful. And I'm glad I followed my impulses to talk to you, to seek you out on the internets and talk to you. I have always said for years and years, you can't hate yourself thin. It just doesn't. And in fact, I've said, if I wrote a diet book called Hate Yourself Thin, I would be a billionaire. It would
Oh,
sell, it would
yeah.
sell so many copies, and
Yeah.
I'd finally get to, quit this game because I'd be
Right.
rich, right?
You'd be yelling down to us right now from your giant pile of money.
Exactly. I'd be like Scrooge McDuck, just diving into it.
Yeah.
So I want you, I have a bunch of notes based on what you said, and thank you for diving right into it. Before we jump into my questions, can you go a little more into your background? You said you had the background with the diet. So what is your training? Tell us about Jason
My
from
most
before all this.
prestigious credential is a high school diploma that I barely got. But I've been in and around this industry for over 2 decades. I started out as a trainer, personal trainer, and ended up, I became the like a geek kind of trainer rather than the gym rat kind of trainer, where I started getting into the science and really thinking about things like nutrition. And the majority of my clients were women focused on weight loss. Today, my demographic is 96% women over 40. And that isn't because of anything that I did. I run those ads that you saw to everybody, but that's who responds.
That's who responds. So the algorithm works.
Right. So moving down that path, I eventually opened my own gym, and I had a small personal training gym with just a handful of trainers working for me for, I think, 9 years. During that time, I started working with Sarah Fragoso, who was of Everyday Paleo fame back then, and she had massive following. We started doing a podcast together. It hung out in the top 20 in our category on iTunes for 3 years, something like that.
That's amazing.
When I launched my own diet, I started a podcast for that, and it actually hit number 1 for like 8.5 seconds. But I had a Facebook group for that went to like 6,000 people in a blink, and it took me about 3 or 4 months to just hate it. I hated that group.
Yeah.
I mean, I despised it because I realized what was going on. Like, everybody was bringing their desperation here. Like, this is the guy, this is the plan that's going to fix me.
I've finally found the solution that's going to work.
Yeah.
Putting it as an extrinsic, like you were talking about intrinsic motivation, which that's a question I have for you, but
sure.
Yes.
So during that time is when I figured out the whole, everybody's quitting despite the fact that these same people had amazing results and they can't tell me why they quit.
That's fascinating.
And I started working with a psychologist friend of mine, Robert Beeswass-Diener. He's a guy that has a massive career in positive psychology. And we started just brainstorming a lot of this stuff, and it was brand new to him too, but he was bringing the psychology knowledge and I was bringing the experience. And eventually I wrote my book, Body Beliefs, which is getting a little bit dated. You can find it on Amazon, but there's nothing in it that I disagree with. I just have a lot of new information. So
Of course,
I
you always want to update, but
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
I might update it sometime soon, but I pulled back and started working online in this this psychology mindset space. Eventually, it led to me figuring out the order of how things have to happen, and now my discomfort zone workshop is out there as sort of the entry. It's really the only way you can start. You can get to me. Twice a year, I hold an online event called Weekless Week, and that those are the only two ways that anybody can come to me, because you have to come to me through this changing your relationship with discomfort path, because I found that it has to be the first step, because almost everybody is emotionally eating. They're eating for, because of their self-deprecation and stress and rumination and fear and worry and social comparison and all those things. And there is a ton of discomfort that has to be faced head on. You have to be able to run at it and conquer it rather than trying to survive it. And certainly rather than trying to put a Band-Aid on it by getting a dopamine hit to change your thoughts so that you can escape yourself. Emotions only come from two things. That's either thoughts or hormones. So everything you feel is either, if it's not hormonal, it's about how you're processing your world. And so people have to get that door open first. And then if they want to move on with me, they can move on into Diligent Mind Self-Care, which is where we do this work of actually learning how to change thoughts while we also are focusing on the physical aspects of self-care. And yeah, I think that brings you up to date.
That's fabulous. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's why initially, because I got your discomfort workshop, that's what I purchased. And I'm going to recommend everybody who's listening to purchase it. I've kind of worked out my own little processes and procedures over the years. And one of them being, I like to reflect on the day before and see what made me really uncomfortable and ask myself why, and what was I feeling and what would I have to believe is true in order to feel that way, and kind of work through it. So I actually really love the concept of facing discomfort. So I would like to ask you first, what can you define for everybody what intrinsic motivation is and why it's important?
Yeah, an intrinsic motivation, the easiest way to think about it is something that you would do on a desert island. So we drop, again, 95% of the people that come to people like you and me, we drop them on a desert island. Or for example, we make the entire world instantaneously except them go blind, and they're relieved. It's straight to the cake. It's like, I don't have to do this anymore. That's an extrinsic motivation because it requires other people to be valuable to you. Somebody, if you want to change the way you look, somebody has to be doing the looking. So for an intrinsic motivation, for example, I have spent the last couple of years as kind of a side hobby learning Spanish. And there was nobody that was going to ever come and tell me, you're a good person. It's okay for you to like yourself now because you know Spanish. And prior to knowing Spanish, I wasn't telling myself that I suck because I don't know it. And learning it has opened up all these amazing doors in my life, but none of that was a motivation for me prior to that. I didn't think that I wasn't good enough and then somebody else needed to come in. Now I could be learning Spanish because it was my job in some business where I needed to be able to speak Spanish and they were going to pay me to know it. And then it would become an extrinsic motivation. So an intrinsic motivation is like when you pick up the piano and you decide you want to start learning that for no other reason that it's something that you want to do, that it's something that's fun for you. And self-care has to be an intrinsic motivation. I mean, at the very fringes, it's always a little bit extrinsic. Like there a couple percentage of why I do it is because I want to set a good example for my daughters. A couple percentages, if I take really good care of myself, I'm better in all of my relationships. But those things are very tiny motivators. They're added bonuses, really, compared to the fact that I'm not trying to fix myself. I'm trying to improve my life. So I'm working on things that I own and things that I do, like this body and these thoughts and the way I do my self-care in order to improve my life. I'm not trying to fix myself. So intrinsic, meaning none of this changes if I'm suddenly the last man on earth.
So it's kind of like, because I've watched a lot of people over the years, and by the way, I just help people learn how to cook things. I am not an expert on being a trainer or weight loss. I've had my own journeys. And so I observe after watching tens of thousands of people through Facebook groups, through socials, through buying my stuff, through feedback at grocery stores when I'm out demoing my sauces, people telling me, and I have noticed the people who commit to the long-lasting changes have that intrinsic motivation, and something, some switch has gone off in their head. And so it's that elusive switch that I feel like, because I have a friend just texted me yesterday, I cannot for the life of me stop eating pizza or whatever it is to, yell at me. And I was like, I'm not a yeller.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean,
what do you say to people when that happens?
I mean, when somebody says they can't do it, I usually go back to that relationship with discomfort. Like what does that statement mean? Are you saying that human beings are incapable? No, obviously you're saying you're incapable. So what makes you incapable? Mm-hmm. You decide today that you're not going to eat pizza, and then what is it that forces you to eat pizza? Right. And so they have to reframe the way they're wording to this to themselves. They're whatever's causing you to do that. First off, it's likely, based on thoughts and emotions. Like you're likely eating pizza because you think pizza solves some problem. Food is your drug.
It'll make you feel better in this moment or whatever.
And people really need to examine that, because they will tell themselves that they're just eating pizza for flavor. But when they look close, you find that you want these things on the same kinds of days, the same kinds of thought patterns have been happening. You're turning to it because you think that it is actual pleasure or actual fun, when really you're just kind of pushing a button in your brain and telling the parts of your brain that recognize pleasure to light up. But what do you mean when you say you can't? Like, what stops you? What is the thing that stops you? And the thing that stops you is that you decide to not do what you said you were going to do. And that's because you're okay with letting yourself down. And you don't treat other people this way either. If somebody that you loved in some magical situation was able to come to you and say, if you stop eating pizza, I am going to live longer. Or you would
do it in a heartbeat.
Right. Because that's how you are. You don't negotiate those kinds of things. You don't say to yourself, well, like, how much pizza could I get away with? Like, if you and I are really good friends and I tell you that I'm going to pick you up at the airport, I don't start negotiating and think things like, well, I could probably not pick her up, or I could not pick her up this one time, or I could be an hour late. You don't do those kinds of things. Right. But you do those things nearly immediately with yourself.
Interesting.
And that's a self-worth issue. I don't value myself the way I don't treat myself the way I treat other people, because I don't value myself the way I value other people. And then you can get into why. Why don't you value yourself? What is it about you? Why are you not as valuable as other people? And then somebody might say something like, well, really basic one. Why are you not as valuable as other people? I'll get this in my Facebook group, my private group. Well, because I'm overweight. Okay, so are you comfortable with the fact that you just told all the other overweight people here that they're not valuable? Well, no, not them, just me.
Just me. I'm the one. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not valuable because you're overweight. You're not valuable because you said so. If these things aren't standards, they don't make sense. I'm not valuable because I'm not funny enough. So funny people are the only ones that are valuable. You'd go yell that through your local mall and have no problem with it, or put a billboard up with your phone number on it and address and say, if you're not funny, you're not valuable. No, just me. Right. See, they're never standards. We can find every single thing that I've ever encountered that anybody holds against themselves and says that makes them bad. There's always somebody or multiple people or a lot of people in their life that are exactly like them. And they value those people so much so that they'd be devastated if they lost them.
Of course. Yeah, it's interesting you say that. And I found that over the years, to me, most of these paradigm shifts have to occur because we believe we're either worthless at our core or invisible at our core. And both of them kind of are worthlessness, let's be honest. And it's an interesting thing to shift that paradigm and go, well, no, I'm the only one who's worthless. Everybody else is amazing, and I'm just a piece of shit. You know what I mean? It's exactly. And we don't even know that we're sending ourselves those messages all day long. But then you're saying what it manifests in is, well, I'll just have the pizza right now and not honor this agreement to myself.
Well, you don't take care of anybody you don't like.
Hi. Wow.
I mean, who do you bend over backwards for to make sure that their life is amazing while the entire time you're thinking terrible things about them like you think about yourself?
Nobody.
Nobody. It's
Yeah.
that is never going to happen.
Yeah.
And but when you don't like yourself, it turns into approval seeking. If you seek approval, there's only one reason. That has to be a deficit of approval. How do
Mhm.
you get a deficit of approval? Well, in adulthood, like when you're a kid, an adult can tell you you're terrible. But in adulthood, even if that did happen to you when you were a kid, the only way to have a deficit of approval is to not approve of yourself. So
Mm.
then you go out and you turn into a people pleaser and you're
Yep.
constantly seeking approval because you are mean to yourself. And it's like you're, picking at yourself, giving yourself wounds and sores. And if somebody else will tell you that they think you're good for just a little while, you can use that as the balm on the wounds that you inflict upon yourself.
Mhm.
And for a very short period of time, you might be able to feel as good as they say you are instead of as bad as you say you are. So you constantly are looking to everybody else to find out whether or not it's okay to like yourself or maybe even just not dislike yourself in this particular moment. But I mean, your opinions of you can't be based on what other people think about you, or you will
Right.
constantly have to seek that to try to even just stay at any kind of baseline. And you're just not going to get enough approval from other people to ever manage even a single day of your life without that self deprecation slipping back in. So you got people that are constantly apologizing for everything. And, I'm sorry if this is a stupid question. We'll see in my Facebook group. Could you imagine? My friend has a question for you. Hold on a second. I'm sorry if it's a stupid question.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and ask your question, sweetie. I mean, you would never, ever treat anybody else that way. But for some reason or other, it's okay for you to treat yourself that way. And as soon as we start asking you why, you start saying things that you can't back up. And from there, the stuttering and stammering begins because it's all just it's all unexamined thoughts. It's all thoughts that it's beliefs that don't hold water that you've never taken any time to examine.
Amen. And listening to you describe something like, I'm sorry for the if this is a stupid question, sort of communicating. It's interesting to hear that because I think as women, we model our behavior for other women. We're not necessarily sure how to confidently ask something or you know what I mean? So it's a very interesting thing to go, yeah, that is. I wonder how many other of you guys who are listening out there do that. I know I do that.
Yeah,
Apologies in advance if this is a bother,
right.
but I
Because
need
I'm
to know
a
this.
burden.
Yeah, apologies if I'm being a burden. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's
I
fascinating.
believe that I'm a burden on other
Right,
people. And I believe that my best use of me in this life is trying to make other people happy,
right.
especially so that they will tell me then that they're grateful for the fact that I made them happy, that I'm good. It's a nasty way to live a life.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
can you define self-care for us? Because I
Yeah.
also I like the way that you use self-care and I understand the context because I've been through your coursework. But
Mhm.
self-care, I also feel like becomes that like Instagram meme thing where it's
Yeah.
a little eye rolly, like someone's,
Yep.
wearing a mask and eating pizza and putting your feet up and just
Right.
spoiling yourself.
Self-care can be distilled down to one question. How can I take the best possible care of myself in this moment? And that means
Love
that
it.
you don't have an outcome. There's no outcome. Like I take really good care of myself and then people start coming up to me and saying, "Wow, you look great." And I go, "Oh, really? Wow, let me tell you the real awesome stuff I've been working on." And because the things just happen and people still get all the same results that they always wanted when their motivations were broken. There's no such thing as a body in peak health that it doesn't look fantastic. So they still get all those same goals, but they all of it happens by accident. I honestly believe that weight loss should
Right.
happen by accident.
It's the side
You are
effect
you
of
are
the main
busy
work.
you are busy caring for yourself in this moment because that's what you deserve. Because memento mori, remember that you will die. You have no idea how long this life is going to be. We know it's super short. This life is my amusement park. I want to ride all the rides and I want to feel as good as I possibly can every day. And for me personally, I have, I want to declare, conquer, and be proud is something we say a lot in DMSC. And I have this sort of doppelganger version of myself in my mind that as soon as I get out of bed in the morning, he takes his place standing next to my bed. And at the end of the day, he's going to look me in my eyes and go, "Are you proud of today?" And I'm going to have to answer, and he already knows.
Right.
So I can't lie to him.
No.
So I want to live this life in such a way that I can be proud of how I lived it, proud of how I interact with everybody, proud, but also proud of how I controlled my thoughts, and all the inputs that came in from life, and not creating invalid emotions based on things that I made up. Like, walking into a room full of people and saying all of these people are judging me, those kinds of things. And now I feel bad. I fabricated that. I don't want any of that stuff. But in every moment of my existence, I can ask that question. And sometimes there's no answer. Like right now, recording this with you, how can I take the best possible care of myself? Well, I'm already doing it. I'm standing up at my desk, and there's nothing else I can really do. I've taken all the steps that I can in this moment, but there's another self-care decision coming soon. And I am not putting any of those in a row for something to happen. Things will happen, but I'm not trying to create a streak like that little girl where you're going to feed her enough healthy meals to take her over to the scale and see if you love her. It's eventually there's going to be an opportunity. Like after this, I've got a little bit of free time. How can I take the best possible care of myself? Some days that might mean sitting down and relaxing if I've been going hard all day. Today, it's probably going to mean going for a walk. Then, I've already gone to the gym this morning. Later on, there's going to be food decisions. Sometimes there are food decisions at restaurants or events where there's lots of different foods. And that's going to mean me choosing the right foods, the foods that nourish me. And then, of course, like you can throw in flavor and go, I've got these certain foods that I'm willing to eat that are healthy foods. And then I'm going to choose the ones that taste the best out of that. So we're not being like, martyrs in this regard, or always choosing the worst options. But the question is ever present. How can I take the best possible care of myself? Now, where people get off track with that is that they try to take like my work, and they're coming from the whole, years of dieting, lost and regained weight more times than they can count. They've done every diet known to man, and they think in terms of carbs and fats and protein. Like they can't eat meat. They're eating protein in their mind. Like they don't think in terms of food anymore. And so those people want to take everything that I put out, and they want to turn it into the list of rules.
Right.
And that list of rules is to get to a destination. It's do all of these things for long enough, and then blank will happen. And what they really want blank to be, what they really mean is, and then I will stop being so mean to myself.
Right. And then I'll magically love myself at the end of this journey of hating myself.
Right. And, we don't think in these terms in our kids. If you asked us, like, why are you feeding your kids healthy food? You don't in the moment think, because if we do this long enough, they'll be super healthy. That is one of the results that's going to happen. And you're instilling good habits and all of that. But in the moment, I'm caring for this child because I love this child. This child is worth the effort that I'm putting into it, him or her, to give them the best possible life that I can give them in this moment right now. Sure, the long-term outcomes all end up happening, but you're not thinking that while you're cooking dinner. I got to get this dinner cooked so that my kid will be in great health when they're 25. It's always a right now thing. That's how self-care has to work. That's
amazing. Thank you. Thank you for laying that out. So in the beginning, you were speaking of the 95% failure rate.
I have a 95% failure rate because 95% will quit.
95% will quit.
Can fail. Yeah.
Right. So I guess, but then you called, I guess, the 5% who didn't, the fixers.
No, the 95% of the fixers.
Oh, they're the fixers. Thank you for clarifying.
Themselves. I might have said that backwards. Sorry.
No, I think I misunderstood it. So the fixers are the ones who constantly want to fix. What are the 5% who just stick with it? Or did they have great childhoods where their parents loved them and instilled a sense of self-worth? Or like, what is it?
Sometimes, or other times they're just people that, oftentimes it's confidence that they have before they get to me. Other times it's just people that are either with me and jumping that fence into the 5% because they're reassessing how their beliefs and the way they think. And other times it's people that sort of started that journey before they came to me. It's these people that have these realizations where they go, the way I think is all of my problems. And I have to stop pointing
Right.
at everything. I always do this,
Right.
like kind of trick that I'll play on people when it comes to like stress, for example. I'll say, why are you stressed out right now? And inevitably, they'll start telling me some story. Well, my boss at work or my relationship or whatever, and I'll interrupt them. I'll go, no, 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 no. I didn't ask you what you're stressed out about.
Right.
I asked you why you're stressed out right now. Why did that thing happen, whatever it is? And you went over to your toolbox and you dug around, you've got a stressor, and then you dig into your toolbox and you said, oh, stress, I'll pull that out and fling it around my life. When people have that kind of realization, they realize that things don't make them feel anything. Like you have never, for example, you've never been insulted in your life without doing 50% of the lifting. A
Right.
good example for that is you don't like your body and you feel like you're overweight. You're walking down the street and somebody comes up to you and they tell you have a big butt. 6 months from then, you'll be able to remember where you were, what you were wearing, what they were wearing, the sound
Yep.
of their voice, everything.
That's right.
That same person walks up to you and tells you that you have ugly wrists. You probably don't even look down at your wrists. They walk away and you get on the phone and you go, oh my God, you're not going to believe it. This
Yeah.
weirdo just came up and told me I
Yeah.
had wrists. And yet that
Yeah.
person was trying to do the same thing, insult you. But in one of those situations, you were not insulted. What does that show us? It shows us that nobody can insult you and have you be insulted
Right.
without you doing the work. So these people will have these 5%, I think sometimes will have these realizations that this isn't about things. It's about the way I process these things. It's about my thoughts first. That will usually give them a big head start if they can come to that on their own before they come to me. Otherwise, I have to sell them on that concept.
Right. I love what you said too about how you invented this diet, marketed it, had the success rate that you had, and still people had the disconnect of going, yeah, I just quit. Like, I know it
Yeah.
works. Felt great. Talk to me about that, because it does seem like is it a bit by bit thing? Like so and so died, I had this thing, and then it just kind of fell off, or is it like people just go on a bender? Like what is it in the mindset?
Well, it's both. I mean,
Like
the
the
ways that
disconnect.
people can go off the rails are myriad. A big stressor
Mhm.
hits and they go, I'll get back on track. I mean, do
When
you need to
yeah,
get back on track with your showering and brushing your teeth? Those are part of your self-care practice. You probably don't. It takes a real emergency for those things to not happen.
right.
It's that situation where their motivation to do it is extrinsic, meaning they don't want to do all of this stuff. And since they don't want to do it, they're always kind of hoping that something will come along and let them off the hook. And then
Mm,
perfectionism in their game, meaning I said I wasn't going to eat any cookies and now I ruined a cookie, or I ate a cookie, so I ruined everything. So now I'll get back on track on Monday. And if I'm not back on track first thing in the morning on Monday, well, then it's next week. And people can fade out or dive off the wagon head first, either way. But when you hear those stories, it's always the same thing. I
yeah.
am definitely in the 5%. I travel a lot. I just went down to Mexico. I was in Mexico a week ago today. I came home. And by the time I got done, I was absolutely jonesing to get back in the gym. My body wants to do more than walk and do some occasional like exercise snacks in my room. And I'm dying to get back to my routine such that like when stressors hit, stressors can't cause me to stop my self-care. They make me want to hunker down on my self-care.
Right.
I'm like, oh, life's trying to take things from me. It's trying to exert control over me. Well, you can't have this. So I hunker down because I'm not looking for a reason to get off of this. I'm not looking for another excuse to be able to quit and tell myself that it wasn't me. Life got in the way. And so it's kind of like you go on a long camping trip and let's say you're out camping for a week. You don't have to get back on track with bathing. The second you walk in and set your stuff
Right.
down,
You're so excited to take a shower. Yeah.
yeah. And
Hmm.
that's what happens in the 5%. They're
Right.
people that, and it's also the way they start everything, the whole process they go through. When that person looks in the mirror and they say, that's body fat, I think I'm going to get rid of that because doing so would mean that I was healthier and then I wouldn't be lugging it around with me all the time. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. They do that the same way you might look out your window and go, my lawn's too long. I'm going to go mow my lawn. There's a thing that I've decided that I want to do. And now I just start taking action, and they make it look really easy. It's not this,
Right.
I said, like, I really hate the idea that I have to do all this stuff, but over here, I hate my body slightly more today. So there's this back and forth. It's, you look out your garage and it's a complete mess. And one day you go, I'm going to clean up the garage. And you just go do that because there aren't a bunch of weird emotions attached to it. I mean, some people might look at their garage being messy and think that that makes them a terrible person. And, oh God, what if somebody saw my garage? But I think for most of us, we can envision how we just do these kinds of things in our life.
Right.
And some of them are really hard, but we just make up our mind that we're going to do them. Why? Because we're not in our own way with a bunch of dumb emotions that say, if I clean up my garage, I am somehow going to be a good enough person that other people will tell me that I'm good. And maybe I can actually feel like I am.
Fabulous. I mean, this is so powerful. I hope everybody listens twice, and goes and gets your work. We're going to wrap it up. I just want to say thank you for this. And
sure.
You've articulated things in such a way that's so fantastic. And I remember for myself personally, years ago, there was a Christmas morning where, we were staying with family, and my daughter at that point was old enough to, sleep in a little bit. She was a teenager, so she wasn't quite, she wasn't young but I had nieces and nephews who were ready to open the presents. And my daughter was sleeping in, my husband was sleeping in, and I went out for a jog in freezing cold weather in DC on Christmas morning. And I remember thinking to myself that, again, it wasn't like it's Christmas, I'm going to take a day off. It just felt like right to do that, and getting frantic texts during that jog saying, we need to open the presents. Like, well, I don't need to watch them open every single present. Just start.
I'll be there in a minute.
I'll be there in a minute.
Right.
And so that really resonates about that. And I know that there are people listening who will be listening to this going, I really want to get to what he described, which is I just notice it, I observe it, and I go and self-care it.
Yeah.
So,
right.
That's
without attaching it to your identity.
Self-care it.
Yeah.
Yeah, without attaching any idea to it. So thank you for this. I'm going to send people in the show notes to your website, jasonseib.com. That's the best way to get started working with you.
It's really the only way. I'm hardly, outside of those ads, I'm hardly present on any form of social media.
God bless you.
How is that?
How is that?
I hired people to help me run ads really well so that I wouldn't have to, because I did the whole years of trying to get a following, and I had a big following. I mean, did seminars all over the country. I've been recognized in Disneyland with my kids walking with me. I mean, it didn't do anything. It didn't do anything but create a bunch of angst that I was constantly trying to, put out more stuff. So now I hide in my little hole of diligent mind self-care. And well,
you're not that hidden because I found you. So
it's just, that's because of the ads. My guys are good.
Good. That's fabulous. Well, Jason, thank you for taking the time. Everybody go to jasonseib.com. You're going to want more of this information. And I feel like it's almost like tarot cards. Everyone's like, man, I don't know. But then everyone's like, do me. Like, I feel like go and at least get the discomfort workshop, if not go deeper, because even if you think you've got it dialed in, there's always more work to be done. There's always more stuff to unearth. So thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.